All right, you just heard Jay-Z there on the NFL's new partnership sitting next to Roger Goodell. Well, Colin Kaepernick's former teammate isn't having it, tweeting this. You and some others seem to misunderstand that we had no beef with the NFL until they started perpetuating the systemic oppression that we are fighting by blackballing Colin and then me. Now, I won't quit playing, but I'll be a royal pain in the NFL's expletive for acting like they care about people of color by forming numerous disingenuous partnerships to address social injustice while collectively blackballing Colin, the person who brought oppression and social justice to the forefront of the NFL platform. Reed added the fact that Jay-Z has the audacity to say that. I think that we've moved past kneeling is ridiculous, and he's actually capitalizing off of Kaepernick's loss. Max?
Yeah.
Does Reed have a point?
Of course he has a point. He has a couple points. First of all, Jay-Z capitalizing off loss. He is a capitalist, as Stephen A. likes to say. I could sell water to a whale, put me anywhere on God's green earth, I'll triple my worth. Jay-Z is doing two things here. It's a muscular move, and it is very American. You know, you can change and also make a buck at the same time. And he's doing that. And Jay-Z's also proving what he said, Stephen A. By the way, Reed is wrong about Jay-Z sacrificed nothing. He turned down the halftime show. That's a big deal. And said he's not going to do it. I mean, he benefited from that, too. But still, that is something. That's not nothing. And he was proven right. I don't need you. You need me. Because look what really happened. Who benefits more from this situation? Really the NFL, kind of co-opting the social justice issue. But, of course, in co-opting it, it also means something will be done about it. Money will be put into it. Resources will be put into it. Attention will be given to it. And that's good. And Jay-Z also has a legitimate point, but we can't pretend Reed doesn't. First of all, on the issue of him still talking, even though he's employed by the NFL, he has every right to do so. Why should he not take a job in his chosen profession, a league which is supposed to represent only really the best football players in the world? Why else would anything go into that? Like, that's why you're in the NFL, because you're one of the best football players in the world. So Eric Reed has every right to play in the NFL, and he should take advantage of that opportunity for him. And he is. And yet that's not mutually exclusive with him with him selling out. I don't see that at all. Or it doesn't mean he's selling out. I don't see it's mutually exclusive with him shutting up. He doesn't need to shut up. He can keep talking. He's doing the right thing. I think he has a point on that. And in terms of Jay-Z capitalizing from this, well, he is. That doesn't mean that he hasn't already, like, I can disagree with what Reed said is Jay-Z sacrificed nothing. I could disagree with the sentiment that this won't do anything, if that is a sentiment. I think you can argue Jay-Z's point of view, but let's not pretend that Reed doesn't have a point. Jay-Z now has a very powerful partnership with a very powerful entertainment entity, which will enrich Jay-Z and his business partners, right? Like, that will also happen. So, yeah, Reed has a point. He has a couple of them.
I disagree. I don't think, and I'm very uncomfortable having a conversation about Eric Reed because I genuinely like and respect who he is and what he stands for and what his position has been. I really, really do. But I think he's missing a boat on a couple of things here. And it's not to say he doesn't have any points. I get where you're coming from, Max. But I'm talking about as it pertains to what the intent of his words are. I don't think he's making the right point here. The reality of the situation is that Colin Kaepernick protested to bring attention to the racial oppression that exists in our society. He stood up. He made a sacrifice. We recognize that and we appreciate that. But in the same breath, we need to understand that everybody's entitled to embrace it differently. Colin Kaepernick didn't make this move for Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick supposedly, ostensibly, made it for a bigger reason, to affect the lives of so many others, even if it sacrificed himself. Well, guess what? Now it has. So what's the surprise there? You have to understand that. If Jay-Z decides to collaborate with the NFL and use the strong arm of the NFL to impact communities, disenfranchised communities throughout our nation in a very, very positive way, then excuse me, wasn't that the goal that Colin Kaepernick had? Wasn't that the goal that Eric Reed had? Wasn't that the goal that a plethora of other people who supported them had? It wasn't about getting Colin Kaepernick back in the NFL. It was about making sure that the issues that Colin Kaepernick illuminated for all of us were being addressed. And if those things are being addressed, then that was the ultimate goal. It's not just about you. Secondly, Eric Reed is talking this talk while he's wearing an NFL uniform. And there are nuggets of information that he's ignored along the way. Number one, blackball from the NFL. Do I believe that's the case right now with Colin Kaepernick? Sure. But let's keep in mind what transpired. The Baltimore Ravens were interested in him. until he compared Bashotti and former player, Hall of Famer Ray Lewis, to the characters in Django, Samuel L. Jackson and Leonardo DiCaprio. The Miami Dolphins were interested in him until he showed up at a press conference with a Fidel Castro T-shirt, Miami populace that exceeds 30%, and with Cuban Americans there. Okay, so there were teams that were interested in him. Eric Reed, blackballed Eric Reed. I'm sorry, I thought he was playing for the Carolina Panthers. I thought I saw him play last year for the Carolina Panthers. I thought I saw him register 50 tackles. I do believe he's getting a paycheck from the Carolina Panthers right now. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I'm like, what are you talking about? Because you're in the National Football League. Now, third point, when we talk about the NFL, we can talk about the NFL. We can talk about ESPN. Let me explain something. We don't cut checks. We cash them. We don't own the NFL. We don't own ESPN. The NFL is perfectly within their right to sit up there and say, yo, we really don't have a problem with your position. Our problem is with our patrons, who we believe, this is at the time, not now, because obviously that's proven to be wrong. But at the time, their position was, we have a right to sit up there and say, this is going to have a negative impact on our bottom line. We just about football. Eric Reed confirmed that Colin Kaepernick, him, and others, their position was never against the NFL until the NFL went about the business of quote-unquote blackballing. Well, where did the blackballing come from? They said, you are affecting our bottom line in a negative context. We need you to alter that a little bit because we don't have anything to do with this.
Right.
Colin Kaepernick
If you want us to whiteball you, you better get in line.
Okay, guys.
Well, time out. You can do all of that, Max. Feel free. I'll give you the floor to do all that. I ain't getting into all of that. What I'm saying to you is this. They came to them and said, you're affecting our money. Now, if you had a problem with the National Football League initially, I got nothing to say. The problem was Eric Reed and Colin Kaepernick said their issue wasn't with the NFL. So if your issue wasn't with the NFL, but the NFL is saying they're suffering because of your actions and you're employed by them, you're ostensibly saying your employer who employs you, who you need to pay you, is saying you're affecting their bottom line. And in essence, you're saying, bump you. I don't give a damn about your bottom line. I'm going to do what I want to do while I'm in your league, with my hand out for your money. Now, that's not the real world. The real world is not going to accept you doing that. And that's the reality that we all have to face. There's a lot of things, Max, you want to say, I want to say, etc. But we're on ESPN's airwaves. These are not Stephen A. Smith's airwaves. These are not Max Kellerman's airwaves. These are ESPN's airwaves. And damn it, if they sit up there and say, yo, you affecting our bottom line, us, Walt Disney, etc., we need to have a conversation about this. If you're smart, you need to have a damn conversation.
Stephen A., okay, this is getting really good. So let's call an audible here and continue this conversation when we get back. I'm sure you have plenty more that you want to say.
Both of us do. Let's go.
On First Take, much more on this Jay-Z, Eric Reed, Colin Kaepernick, and the NFL, the partnership and the fallout. Stay right here.
The NFL season is right around the corner.
Excitement is building as training camp begins.
Who has the best chance to dethrone Tom Brady and the Pats?
Will Patrick Mahomes win back-to-back MVPs?
Are the Cowboys still an accident waiting to happen? How do?
Which new face will have the biggest impact in their new place? We have the best debate previewing the 2019 campaign.
And then we're going to have a good nice little bowl of gumbo together.
So to get your football fix, it doesn't get any better than right here on First Take.